Okay, welcome back everyone. Another video here with a little bit of a different twist. Now we are doing a movie tier list slash ranking of one of my favorite franchises, the Alien franchise. Because we just had, Alien Romulus come out, so we've got to, send the list out there. And just a few kind of disclaimers before we get this list started. Obviously, this is just my list. It's just, my own humble opinion. There's no right or wrong answers. We all have different perspectives, different things we look for in movies, from our backgrounds and from our preferences. So, we're all going to lock on to certain things in movies. So, that being said, please be civil if you can. And, let's get this started. We're going to go in chronological order from when they were released. And let's go ahead and start with Alien. So there's not really going to be a whole lot of debate on this one. This is, S tier, Queen level stuff, the top of the top, 1979 one. So I really like Alien. I think it's basically, and I don't really say this for movies, but it's about almost as perfect as you can get for what it was trying to do. Just everything from the visuals, to the music, to the sound design, to the set pieces are just chef's kiss. Again, I rarely invoke that word perfect. But yeah, it's just such a good movie. So many memorable scenes, just a really nice atmospheric feel. Great on horror, great on the claustrophobic. If you really had to nitpick, there are a few effects that don't hold up necessarily that well, like when it's, spoiler alert, so just as a heads up, there are going to be spoilers for these movies. When it kills Captain Dallas, with this kind of hugging scene and, some of the other special effects, they hold up pretty well overall, but, there are a little bit here and there, again, if you're trying to nitpick. But overall, again, for what it's setting out to do, I really like Alien. I think it's awesome horror. I like horror a lot, and I love sci-fi. So combine them, this is kind of a match made in heaven. So excellent film. Moving right along, we have Aliens, and by the way, it's going to be in order if it's on the same line, which one I like better. Like so, if I put it in front of the other. Aliens. Now, I know you probably know that's the age-old debates. Do you like Alien or do you like Aliens better? And I am... which am I? I'm this one. I'm this kind of guy. Yeah, I like Aliens better. So these two excellent movies, they do rather disparate things. And, I've seen some criticisms for Aliens, like, maybe too quippy, and even down to sometimes the character of Ripley maybe is a little different here than she is in Alien. And I can understand those. Just because, I don't necessarily fully agree with it doesn't mean I don't fully disagree. It's kind of like a spectrum. Like, I see where you're coming from, maybe like 20% or 30%, etc. So, anyway, that being said, I like Aliens better. I think it's not as perfect maybe as Alien in the sense of what it's trying to do, but it's just really good. It's really good. It's a great meld between horror and action. Kind of the first half is a slow burn. Alien is, kind of an overall slow burn for the entire movie, whereas Aliens, kind of the first half is more of a slow burn, and then the second half is more kind of that bombastic action. If I had to nitpick as to potential cons, again, it's difficult because it's so good. So, such great lines, such great action. I'm not going to talk too much in depth with some of these older movies because, what it's been said ad nauseum. I'm not here to try and say anything particularly new, especially since this is a tier ranking. If it were an in-depth movie review, I might try to point out some things that others maybe haven't said, or at least aren't quite as much, in the front line of criticism or movie analysis. But just trying to go over these pretty quickly. Maybe there is a little bit of lapse between departures, like, so for instance, like, it was really interesting and cool in the first one that the alien was unkillable. Now, or seemed unkillable. Now, I know for Aliens, everyone says the reason, we actually have Marines with heavy-duty weaponry and all that, and yeah, but when you have something that's unkillable, the sky's the limit, right? So people who had seen Alien and not seen Aliens you know, it could have armor that could withstand, you know, even heavy weaponry and flamethrowers and, you know, getting smashed by an airplane reverse truck or whatever that thing was, you know. So the sky's the limit. So, you know, this obviously, if you consider this canon, it goes, you know, kind of follows and it makes sense. Oh, you know, they have heavy weaponry, but, you know, you can go with it. And also the serious and kind of dread tone obviously is more here. This one is more hopeful. So different tones, but they're both very atmospheric. So, and they're both in Queen. They're both awesome and not very debatable. Okay, I know that you know, I'm Miss Minority, and that's because I have a lot of minority opinions, including a few that we'll get to. But this just isn't it right now. I'm pretty much in the majority with that one. This is pretty much my least favorite movie of the Aliens, Alien 3. I'm going to put it with Facehugger, but I'll be honest with you, because it's Alien, I still get some enjoyment out of it. You know, there's a lot of movies in the franchise that I may not like, and I don't really know if there's actually a franchise that doesn't have a single movie that I don't like, especially with some of the, you know, the new additions with things like Star Wars and whatever. But with Alien, you know, I actually, with Alien 3, maybe I wouldn't. Maybe below average is the worst I could give it. I don't know. But relative to other Alien movies, yeah, it's pretty dog crap, in my opinion. Yeah, you can talk about a lot of the negatives that other people have talked about, like, you know, killing off Hicks and Newt at the very beginning. I'll be honest with you, I'm kind of more leaning towards in the cool factor, and also if a writer or author or director, whoever is, you know, controlling the medium, is very adept, then I absolutely will say, go ahead, take a bold move, and if you can sustain it, then sustain it. They don't sustain it. Spoiler alert. Alien 3 does have some kind of semi-interesting ideas. I will say this, in positive for Alien 3 and for all the other aliens, especially I like to call them the quadrilogy. They are all incredibly atmospheric, and what's so interesting is that they're all very different atmospheric from one another. And that's one thing I really like about them. They all have their own almost like color palette, along with, you know, visuals that are against the aesthetic backdrop. So very interesting. So this is, again, is very aesthetic, or should I say, very atmospheric, very interesting, very kind of nihilistic, you know, tone, and the world along with the colors kind of mimic that. But I'm just not a fan of the Alien that much. One of the things, and I'll kind of bring it up because this is something that I kind of like to carry throughout the entire series when I'm watching an Alien movie, is how scary / formidable is the alien. And that's something that gives this one more points as opposed to this one, right? The aliens are kind of just shot, you know, one after another, and then of course eventually you build up to the queen. Spoiler alert. This one, the alien actually does kind of seem formidable, at least in terms of kills, and it only is one killing everybody, but it just doesn't look good. Now, obviously, some of that's the wonky CGI, but, you know, it just, I think there's a lot of creative ways you could go with an alien, and having it come out of the, you know, a cow or a dog, I don't know which, you know, depending on which version you watch. You know, you could go different ways and be more creative, and I don't think the alien that they chose for this one was particularly creative. It was just faster and smaller, I think. But yeah, I'm not a fan of the characters. Even Ripley in here she's decent, but comparative to the other two films, I don't like her quite as much. So yeah, Alien 3 is going to go down here. Not a whole lot that I like about it, especially with the decision at the end. Some interesting ideas again that are kind of played upon, but they're few and far between. So Alien Resurrection. Okay, this one is an interesting one for many reasons. This one I'm actually going to put up here with Chestburster. This is a mess of a movie, but my goodness, what a glorious mess it is. You know, I always hand out extra points for gore, and especially creative gore. If you just splash a bunch of blood on the ground, okay, whatever. But if you have some creative stuff, you know, then you're gonna get bonus points. And this is definitely gonna get bonus points. Alien Resurrection, again, is a mess, but my goodness, it's a beautiful mess. Lots of weird decisions. This is a tonally, the first tonally kind of disparate movie, I would say, of the Alien franchise. Like, they all have a singular tone up until now, and all of a sudden here you have kind of, you know, a mix of horror that's clashing with humor, that's clashing with action, that's clashing with kind of sexual, you know, undertones and whatever. It's, you know, whereas the others, they kind of all work together to form, you know, a common goal. This one seems to be a little bit more clashing. But again, very creative gore, some kind of interesting themes. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of the Newborn, but yeah, it's creative. Okay, so I also give, you know, if you know me, I give bonus points for creativity as well. I do not like retreads. That's why I like things like member berries. It actually turns me off. I want to see something new. Okay, I have pretty good memory. I would like to think, or let's just say I have above average memory. I only typically watch movies once, and if I really like them, I only watch them twice. I think I've seen these two movies twice. I've only seen these two once, and that was, oh my goodness, that was 15 years ago maybe. So yeah, maybe I should have rewatched everything right before I did this list. But yeah, I think I can remember, generally speaking, what happened. So some creative things, like when the chest burster comes out the guy's chest and it goes to the head, and the guy inspects his own brains, and you know the aliens sucked out. It just lots of creative gore. And then when it slashes the Queen Mother's, you know, mouth, and when you see all the clone Ripleys, and then they flamethrower, just lots of creative gore here. So you know, that gets me, it gives bonus points for that. So it might be a little lower on this list for that, but in terms of, you know, story, characters, it's a mess. It really is. Okay, moving on. So, as you kind of noticed, I skipped the Alien vs. Predator movies. Those are very different. I'm trying to go for Alien, you know, proper. So, those are for their own separate times. Prometheus. This is where the minority opinion comes in. I'm going to put up here. I actually like Prometheus with a big asterisk behind it. Prometheus is, let's just say this, if Prometheus were not a Alien movie, I would consider it pretty darn decent. But the fact that it exists in the Alien, you know, franchise really bumps it down a lot of notches for me, because when you're in the Alien universe, you expect some things, and Prometheus just kind of departs from those. So, you know, let's say about some of the positives. One of them is the visuals are absolutely amazing. You know, no one's going to take that away from Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott is an absolutely amazing visual director. I think personally, without any experience of directing myself, I probably, you know, if that were to be one of my strengths, it wouldn't be plot, it wouldn't be characters, it'd probably be the visuals. I can like envision things in my head really well, so I kind of can picture what I want. And so, you know, this is very visually appealing. There's also lots of interesting new things here, right? We have, you know, the Deacon, we have the engineers that we see the first time, albeit maybe a slight disappointment or a big disappointment, whatever you want to call it. We have I forget what it's called, the multiple tentacle thing. Sorry guys, I saw this movie once. What was that, 10 years ago? I didn't see it when it first came out. I think I saw it 2 years after it came out, 2012. So when it came out, I think I saw it 2014, or around that time. And you have the black goo, you have that kind of snake-looking thing with Cobra. You know, you have lots of new ideas here. So that's cool. Again, I give extra points for creativity, which is kind of the main reason why it's up here. They're kind of interesting things, but my goodness, you're just juggling way too much, and by the end, you're not sure what you should be fearing more. You know, should you be fearing the engineers? Should you be fearing this big tentacle random thing? I still don't know what the tentacle thing is. I probably should read more into the lore. Yeah, there's just so many dangers coming from all over the place, so that you're juggling so many balls, you're gonna, you know, chances are you're gonna miss sight of a few of them. So it throws a lot at the wall. Some of it sticks, a lot of it doesn't. The cons, I mean, they've been talked about ad nauseum, ad nauseum. There's lots of logic lapses from scientists that throw caution to the wind. But I'll be honest with you, sticking one's face into an egg, I guess, like in this one and this one, are kind of starting to get par for the course for this series. Of course, we have the Prometheus school running away from things, that originate from this movie. And questionable alien engineer origins, engineer motivations as well. You're not really sure about the questions, or sort of the answers that they're giving to questions. And again, they're not necessarily questions that you would necessarily be asking. Like, I don't know if I needed to know about the origin of the aliens. The mysteriousness is kind of nice, kind of like Solo. Han Solo, where did he come from? Anyway, whatever. I'm digressing. So. It's very entertaining though, but as soon as and it's easy for me to divorce this movie from the rest of the Alien franchise, because there's not a whole lot in common until the very, very end. We see the Deacon. There's not a hint of an alien besides kind of the eggs and maybe some of the atmosphere and whatever. I will say Prometheus, unlike the quadrilogy, is not very atmospheric in my opinion. It's okay, but compared to the atmosphere captured for these four, it's definitely not that level. Okay, so Alien Covenant. Yeah. I am not a fan of Alien Covenant. I'm gonna put it up here, a little ahead of Alien Resurrection, but definitely below Prometheus. So at the level of Chestburster. So Alien Covenant is kind of an interesting one. To me, it's kind of a tale of two stories here. There's kind of the alien part and there's a Prometheus part. Just to get out of the way, as said before, great visuals, right? Same thing as Prometheus. In fact, the opening, I remember seeing this in theaters. So this was 2017. Again, I've only seen this one once. I remember probably my favorite sequence was just the very beginning with the scene with the ship. It was very beautiful, opening sequence. And yeah, some interesting ideas here, like with David, the android, and with all that he goes through, and some interesting questions. But guess what? That's not why I watch Alien. That's not why I watch Alien, right? Just very odd decisions, kind of like Prometheus, but with Chestburster, with Mr. Chestburster here. With Alien Covenant, I feel like it dives deeper into them. Like with this one, it just kind of is like, hey, here's something, and then it moves right on from it. It's like, hey, here's a zombie. Okay, whatever. I think even Ridley Scott said it was getting slow, so I needed a zombie. Here's a zombie. Here's a tentacle thing. Here's a really big tentacle thing. Here's a deacon. Here's an engineer. It's just kind of throws things at you. With this one, it kind of dwells on them more. So if you don't like it, you really don't like it. And speaking of, as I said before, kind of like with killing off, Hicks and Newt, if you make bold decisions, I can, support that so long as you really back it up with your great storytelling or your, prowess to wield the medium to your power. The decision in here to have the aliens basically as, something that was created by David, that's a step too far. In the theater, I was slouching in my seat. I was rolling my eyes. It was, as soon as I came to the realization, it was negative. It knocked it down levels. People also criticize a lot, like the characters for being just dumb. Dumb decisions dialed up to the level of dumb. Just being a stupid ass. But to be honest with you, I don't really see that a lot. I know people make stupid decisions, especially when under stress. Now, I think there's maybe a little bit too many in here, but, I don't typically criticize plots for people making, really stupid decisions unless it's, really crazy stupid and it's consistently. Like, again, I would say here it's a bit too much, but normally I just say I give them kind of a pass, especially if there's a lot of extraordinary circumstances that these people haven't, been in, so. I would just say the alien origin, again, is a step too far. But yeah, again, some kind of interesting ideas here. I think the beginning is stronger until they meet David. The neomorph is kind of interesting. Again, I think you need to introduce more than just having an alien, kind of a different color. I would like new abilities, new scares, and the chest burster scene was nice, but it was spoiled in the trailer. So, kind of go from that. It's like, why from the back and then play on that, I think Alien was really good again with that, and I don't really think it's been beat since. There was an interesting thing in here, and then an Alien or versus Predator Requiem, but not really played upon as much as the first one. So I think it could be delved in more with the chest burster, the back burster was interesting, but not really explored. So just kind of, hey, here you are. And then there's the final sequence. Oh my goodness. I know people said they like this. As I said before, I like creativity. The ending sequence is the exact same basically as Alien. The last was at 15-20 minutes. But it's so much worse. It's done so much. The execution is so terrible. One glaring thing is here in Alien, you had, the motion sensor, which is so fun, such an inventive, genius little device because it should be helpful, but it's not. It's, it kind of tells you in the general direction, but it makes it more horrific. It's like, oh no, it's coming. It's getting to me. Here, you can fucking see the alien in high definition camera the entire time. There he goes, there he goes, there he's out. It's like, it's almost fun. It's cool to watch him, to watch the alien stalk around. It takes a lot of the horror out of it. Again, the first part isn't too bad. But as we get later on, you're just like, oh, you guys want some Alien? Here you go. And then it's a lot worse. The execution's a lot worse. So I think, there's a lot to be said with the Alien, not being quite as formidable, and the same thing with this one. It was kind of taken care of. So yeah. And now we get to the one that just came out last week, Alien Romulus. Where should you be put? This one is just such absolute ape shit, dog shit. No, I'm just joking. Steaming pile of crap. No, it's not. Facehugger? Yeah, it just. No. Oh, is it up here? Is it my favorite movie? I'll waste your guys' time. Okay, it's a drone. I'm gonna put it here. If this Prometheus were not an Alien movie, I actually would like it better. That's very controversial, I know. But I've already said some of the reasons here. Let me go into Romulus a little bit, some of my thoughts. So I thought overall it was pretty good. People are saying it's the best since Aliens. Yeah, I would actually agree with that. That's kind of in the majority, I would say. But there are some things that just, I'm not sure about this. It makes me feel off. One of them, again, there's a lot being said on the internet, so I'm not going to rehash kind of the more, vocal and loud points. But one of them, or a few of the ideas that I'm not fond of, one of them is the cast. Strong cast, but too young. I like the grungy kind of middle age of here. The gamut from kids to adult. Here they're all kind of teenagers, and it actually reminds me. I said I watch a lot of horror, so that kind of reminds me of what the January release, Blumhouse production or whatever, the A24, not A24, but yeah, they come out with those. A lot of popcorn horror where it's a bunch of teenagers or whatever, and unfortunately the group was a little bit too close to the age bracket for my preference. It's not awful, again, it doesn't break it for me, but yeah, it didn't sit too well with me. It could have been done better. There's a lot to praise about this movie, including the attention to detail, the horror that made this seem very similar to Alien. I'll go ahead and I repeat it. I'm not a big fan if you do the same thing. If it's creative, great. And there's a lot here that's pretty similar. Is it Force Awakens level of copy paste? No, not even close. That'd be disingenuous to say that. That'd be an insult. But it's a little bit too much for my liking. Some interesting sequences that I like the facehugger sequence. That one's quite praised, but not enough. I find it interesting. Maybe it's because there's so many comics and video games and out there that deal with so many alien variants that, you know, movies try to, you know, stray away from that. But I think it'd be really cool if they did do more alien variants, not like crazy alien variants, like, you know, or I say that's not even crazy, but like doesn't have to be the neomorph, doesn't have to be, you know, the newborn, doesn't have to be what the fuck, whatever that thing was, human hybrid. It could be, again, like chest bursting out of some other animal or whatever or something. So big missed opportunity there, I think. Instead, we just have, you know, common aliens, and unfortunately, there is a little bit of the aliens aspect where they're just mowed down, and this kind of makes it suffer because it feels, I think, the feel that I was going for, generally speaking, especially from the first part of the movie, was more for the alien feel, right? Like the feeling of dread, I imagine. And if that's the case, then you shouldn't be mowing them down at the end, right? It's a little bit contradictory of a feel, and I think it really should have been reduced to, you know, just one alien that was stalking. But then you had that, you know, that scene where she was standing in front of the door and they could have let her in, but it took so long for the alien to get to her. One of the things is just I really want the alien to be very scary. I want it to be unpredictable. Make it move fast sometimes, like extremely fast, so fast that you can't see it. And then other times make it very slow, erratic. Maybe I'm thinking too much of like Alien Isolation. That's one of my favorite games of all time, Alien Isolation. And there was only one alien in there, and it was enough, you know, to be scary and to have the tension. A lot of kind of questionable decisions as well, like why the alien caught her. Yes, there was, you know, when she was falling down. Yes, there was a face hugger there, but again, I try to like to think of the alien as, you know, very scary or intimidating, and I don't know, that just it doesn't. It kind of goes against that vein. Yeah, it's waiting for that, but why can't it knock her out or something, or subdue her? Like, why doesn't it not wrap its tail around her completely and, like, you know, almost fully crush her, or like, you know, use its pipes or something to, like, you know, suction in her hands or whatever, her arms, so she can't. You get what I'm saying, you know, something horror-esque instead of just catching her, and then there's a face hugger there, and then boom, it's not very scary, and it. Again, I think it takes a lot away from the alien, making it less scary. I'm always for making the alien more and more scary. Again, that's why I think you know, me liking this one is interesting, because, you know, it just takes in a different direction, but it does it very well, and that's why, you know, it's so high on the list. So with here, if you're gonna make the alien scary, make it scary and make it new. That's why I, you know, said, you know, we've seen the chest burster things. It's not going to, you know, be, you know, that, you know, surprising anything to me. I like to see new things. I still remember the chest burster scene, right? Give me something new. The new thing in here was the pod that I was in. Opportunity missed, you know. The alien stuck out its tail and stabbed the guy in the eye. There was nothing with the pod that was like, it didn't like grab him and then, you know, start making him become one with the pod. Something horror-esque, you know. Let's go with horror. No, let's just go with the quick stab, you know. I think you know where I'm going with this. It just, any chance you have to make it more horrific, especially in the tone of the first one, where there's a kind of underplay, not too overt, but kind of, you know, I'll say obvious. It's between obvious and subtle, you know. Not too subtle, not too obvious. You know, undertones of sexuality and rape and that sort of thing. Try keep it, you know, try to keep it intact. A lot of missed opportunity here. Another one's at the end. I'm okay, kind of like with the newborn here. I'm okay with the hybrid. I think you could have done a lot more with it. I really think, you know, it was just kind of there and then it left. So, yeah. You know, I don't know what it was doing to the girl. It could have explored that more, and, you know, it's just, you know, it's interesting. It intrigues me, but it was on screen too briefly for me to really kind of, you know, appreciate it fully. And it sounds like I'm criticizing this movie a lot. Again, I think it's pretty darn decent. It's just there's a lot of praise on this movie at the moment, and I'm not going to, you know, reiterate that, because there's, you know, hundreds of channels out there who do, you know, much more nuanced reviews and that sort of thing that you can watch than I. But I'm just pointing out some of the things I thought, were missed opportunities. So yeah, there was something else I was going to say about that. The newborn, the egg. Yeah, so more creativity would have been kind of nice. But I know there's a lot of fans. I'm in the minority with this, I know, because I really like the prequels of the Star Wars trilogy. Saga. I'm not going to go too much into that, but I think most audiences just kind of like what they liked before with previous experiences, and they just want to have that replicated. So yep. So even that being said, I still like this, decent amount. So there you have it. There is the list in order of what I like and how good. We have no eggs. Nothing. We can't reproduce. We can't. Anyway. Yeah. So I'm gonna leave you off on another thing. I really like the soundtracks for all these music. You've been listening to Alien, the Alien Resurrection title, but let's give Alien Resurrection some love, shall we? Why did this have such a good soundtrack? Well, let's boot it up right now and see if we can listen to it. This is, of course, They Swim, track number 10. I believe this was used in some trailers as well. Alien Resurrection. Yep. And on that beautiful note, I am going to be signing out. Hope you enjoyed the list, and feel free to put your list down below. I'm curious to see what you have to say about these movies. I could go on and on and on. This is one of my favorite franchises of all time. Haven't seen them a whole lot, but I played the games. I like consuming the content, but haven't seen the movies a whole lot besides these two. I think I've seen them 2 or 3 times each. Everything else I've seen once. So looking forward to more content. If he directs another one, I'd be looking forward to it. So yeah, feel free to please like, subscribe, share your friends, and create your own lists. Until then,